morning, dear students. Today we can start our class with the topic origin of Metazoa. What is Metazoa? Metazoa means it is a multicellular condition or multicellularity. How first multicellular organism emerge? It is explained through many theories. We can go through each theory one by one. First one is syncytial ciliate theory. Look, that term syncytial means multinucleated single-celled condition and also ciliate. And this theory is proposed by Hatchie, and it is explaining that first metazoa, it is evolved from a primitive multinucleated protozoa, a ciliated one, maybe a paramecium or opalina. What is the nature of this paramecium or opalina? They are syncytial. Syncytial means multinucleated condition. And later in the course of evolution, that multinucleated single cell will develop cell membranes around each nucleus and will attain a multicellular condition or metazoans. Let's see the detail of that theory, that hypothesis. According to that hypothesis, ancestors of metazoans are bilateral ones. That means that ancestor is having a bilateral symmetry, and from that ancestor having bilateral symmetry will emerge acyl turbularians. Acyl means those group that are lacking a true coelom. And then what is turbularians? Turbularians means it is a subdivision of phylum Platyhelminths. And all the members, they are not exclusively parasitic. So it is, just understand that it is a subdivision of phylum Platyhelminths. And this acyl turbularians didn't have a gut, and also their midgut tissue, it is syncytial in nature, means multinucleated condition. From this acyl turbularians, they propose that all the five phylum, major phylums like phylum Mollusca, phylum Annelida, Arthropoda, Echinodermata, and Chordata is emerged. Chordata, all these five phylums have emerged. Exception is regarding the poriferans. Poriferans, they propose that they have originated from flagellated protozoans. All these one have emerged from ciliated protozoan. But here, this poriferans emerged from flagellated protozoans. Okay. So that is syncytial ciliated theory. Next, colonial flagellate theory. And this theory is proposed by Haeckel. And he proposed that Metazoa emerged from a colonial ancestor. That means it has a colonial origin. And that colonial ancestor, how it looks like, it may be like a spherical, hollow, volvox. Like volvox, we know it is a unicellular green algae and that will form a colony, or volvox like, and also it resembles the existing protospongia. Its picture is given here. And regarding the protospongia, its outer layer of that colony composed of some special cells. Look, in those cells, they have some collars around that flagella. And these cells helps in the locomotion of the colony. And the inner side of the colony is filled with the amoeboid shape cells. So, according to Haeckel, that colonial ancestor looks somewhat like in this form. So, that is the colonial flagellate theory. Next theory is colonial Blastia and Planula theory. What is that theory? Its assumption is that these primitive metazoans first originate from a spherical hollow colonial flagellate. Colonial flagellate. This theory also tells like that. Some differences are there. There are some evidences also to support this theory. What are those evidences? Till now, present time also, the metazoans means multicellular organism. They have flagellated sperm cells inside their body. So that supports this theory. That means flagellated sperm cells even now is present in the body of metazoan. So that is one evidence. Next evidence is that in the case of lower metazoans like sponges and many cnidarians, there are also monociliated cells we can see within the body. So these two evidence support this theory that the metazoans have emerged from colonial flagellate, because all these one are flagellate. And there are two stages in that evolution. First stage is a Blastia form according to the Hayter. And what is that Blastia? Blastia means is somewhat have the appearance similar to our embryonic stage blastula. That means unicellular cells form a colony, and somewhat similar to this structure itself, colony, and it be a collar-like structure around a single flagella in this form itself. Okay, and that arrangement organization, it is called a Blastia. So that is the first stage according to this theory. And also that individual cell of that colony possess anterior posterior axis. If we take an individual cell, it possesses an anterior posterior axis, and it can swim by placing the anterior port forward direction. And also in that ball like arrangement, using that many flagellated single cells, there is some differentiation as non-reproductive and reproductive cells. Such differentiation also present among these cells. Then why it is named Blastia, that I already told you, because of its resemblance with the blastula stage during the embryonic development of multicellular animals. And also that type of arrangement or colonial form, colonial stage we can see in Volvox colonies. Then second stage, according to that theory, it is the parenchyma or plania stage. It is a solid, not evaginated structure, And what would be the appearance of that planula ancestor? It is a small, ovoid, pelagic means surface dwelling, pelagic animal with radial symmetry. Radial symmetry, we know that it will give equal halves through all the plane that passing through the central axis. And also it contains a solid mass of cell, and the inner cell mass of that planula ancestor, it is of the migratory cells of blastula stage. Means those cells emerge from that cells of the blastula stage. That's about this hypothesis. And from that planula stage, both the cnidarians and ctenophores have emerged. And from the sexual planula stage, it gives rise to the benthic bilateral primitive flatworms. Example, turbularian acid sect. Okay. Then next is Gastria theory. Gastria, somewhat it has some similarity with the embryonic developmental stage, gastrula. That theory is proposed by Mechnikov. What is that theory? A solid double-walled cup-like structure called Gastria. Gastria, we can see here, this is actually the Blastia. Solid double-walled cup-like structure called Gastria. is formed. How it is formed? It is formed by the invagination of this Blastia at the posterior pole because of the invagination. And this Gastria represents the gastrula or resemble the gastrula stage of development in the multicellular organism. Okay, and we can see the gastria here. As we look to this picture, we can see that the outer layer of gastria is called ectoderm, and the inner layer is called endoderm. Okay, and the space which is enclosed by the endoderm is called primitive gut, and the gut that communicates to the exterior by mouth or protostome. Okay, these are the points regarding the gastria. Next theory, monophyletic origin of metazoan. Mono means from a single ancestor, all the metazoans have evolved. That is that theory. It is proposed by Muller in 2001. And theory is that first, certain adhesion molecules we can find in sponges and also present in major metazoan phylum, these adhesion molecules. So it is considered that as the same molecule is found in all metazoan phylum, it is considered that all metazoans originate from a single common ancestor. That's important. From a single common ancestor, and that ancestor we can call as Metazoa. Okay. Next theory is polyphyletic. Polyphyletic means only from from the name itself we can understand that that metazoans have emerged not from a single common ancestor, instead from so many one by through an evolution process. Okay. So, how came to that conclusion regarding the polyphyletic origin? Because as a result of so many rDNA-based molecular studies, it suggested that metazoans' origin is polyphyletic. So, that hypothesis proposed by various scientists that we are going to see next. First is Greenberg. He gave this hypothesis in 1959. According to him, these metazoans have originated from two ancestors, not from a single. Which are those ancestors? They are flagellates and ciliates. And from the first one, flagellates, the sponges and cnidarians have evolved separately. Uh, from this colonial flagellates. At the same time, ctenophores and flatworms, they all are emerged from the ancestral ciliates. So here, two ancestors are present according to Greenberg. He proposed this hypothesis. Next, Nurser in 1962, he proposed that different multicellular invertebrate phyla have evolved independently, not from through a common axis, independently from different protists. So that is the hypothesis proposed by Nurser. Next scientist is Hansen in 1977. He proposed that the metazoans emerged from syncytial ciliates, and from them emerged the colonial amoeboid form, and this colonial amoeboid form stands as the ancestor of all the cnidarians and platyhelminths. That is his concept. Next came Hansen and Slade, and according to them, the sponges and cnidarians, they have evolved separately from flagellated protists. And there is another group of ciliates. It also originated from this flagellated protists, and the ciliates then give rise to SE, Platyhelminths, and other Metazoan phyla. That is according to his concept. Okay. Then Valentine in 1973 put forward 5 coelomate superphyla. We can see all those superphyla here with the Deuterostomes and Tentacularia. Deuterostomes means they include a group in which they are all bilateral, symmetrical, and also in the that blastopore, the first opening that formed during the gastrula stage in the embryonic development. That blastopore will develop to anus in this Deuterostomes. So, Deuterostomes, they are a group of animals having bilateral symmetry, and also they are having a blastopore, and it will develop into anus during embryonic development. Anyway, I just shown you to understand what is deuterostomes. Tentaculata means, as the name indicates, they are those organisms having long tentacles. Along with them, there present 3 new groups: Polymeria, Emira, and Mollusca. Okay, and these 3 new groups, they have emerged as a separate, as a split up from a usual protostome assemblage. Protostome. From that protostome assemblage, these 3 new groups have emerged and form a part of this 5 coelomate superphyla proposed by the Valentine. Then what about this metameria? Where is a metameria or polymeria? It includes annelids and arthropods. Emeria or siphunculata. It includes only unsegmented siphunculate worms. And mollusca means it includes all the creeping animals and unsegmented creeping animals with an unsegmented coelom. And the next is Anderson. Anderson's, according to his concept, the Nidaria and Ctenophora, it have evolved from flagellates. They emerged from flagellates, and deuterostomes and other groups of minor phyla have evolved from different protists separately. That is Anderson's concept. Next, last, Nilsson and Norway in 1985. According to them, they proposed a theory, Trachea theory. What is the theory? They proposed that a trochophore larva is there, and from them, the Blastia and Gastria is developing, and they both become the ancestors of spiralines. And from the spiralines later will develop the pelagic Tornia, and this pelagic Tornia stays as the ancestor of Deuterostomes. Ancestor of Deuterostomes. That's about the origin of Metazoa. I hope that it's clear to you. Thank you. I'm an icon, man. My girl about a 10. I should fuck her in a Benz.